Please like, share, and subscribe. Wishing you happiness and good luck every day.
Have you ever heard people throwing around words like Bitcoin or blockchain and just kind of nodded along, feeling like you're missing something huge? Or you're not alone. Today, we're going to cut right through all that noise. We're going to break down the world of cryptocurrency into a simple, straightforward guide, getting right to what it all really means. So let's just dive in. Now, this one question, this really gets to the very heart of why crypto was even invented. Just think about that for a second. Imagine a financial world where you, and only you, have total control over your money. No big banks acting as a middleman. That is the huge, revolutionary idea we're going to unpack today. But, to really wrap our heads around that big idea, we have to start at square one. So what is cryptocurrency anyway? Okay, so the whole story kicks off back in 2009 with the creation of Bitcoin by this totally mysterious person, or group, known only as Satoshi Nakamoto. Nobody knows who they are to this day. And just look at its wild ride. In 2015, if you wanted 50 Bitcoins, it would have set you back about 10 grand. Fast forward just 2 years to the peak in 2017, and those same 50 coins were worth $1 million. It's an incredible story that shows both its massive potential and, its crazy volatility. So how is this stuff actually different from the dollars or euros in your wallet? Well, we call that regular money fiat currency. And it's centralized, right? It's controlled by governments and banks. They can print more whenever they want, which, as we know, can lead to inflation. Bitcoin is the complete opposite. It's decentralized. No one is in charge. And this is the key part. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoins, period. That built-in scarcity is a huge piece of what gives it value. So what are the real-world advantages here? Well, for one, sending money across the globe can be way faster and cheaper because you're not paying a bank to handle it. That limited supply we just talked about, that's your built-in protection from inflation. But maybe the biggest thing is you have so much more control. You are, for all intents and purposes, your own bank. Now, all of these amazing benefits are only possible because of one single core technology, the blockchain. So let's pull back the curtain and see how it actually works. Honestly, the best way to think about blockchain is this. Imagine a digital receipt book. But instead of one person holding it, an identical copy is shared across thousands and thousands of computers all over the world. Every single transaction is a new line item in that book. And since everyone has a copy, it's pretty much impossible for someone to sneak in a fake entry or change an old one. It's public, it's permanent, and it's totally transparent. So how does your transaction get written into that shared receipt book? It's basically a 4-step race. First, you broadcast your transaction out to the whole network. Then, these powerful computers called miners grab your transaction, bundle it up with a bunch of others, and start competing to solve a really, really hard math puzzle. The first miner to crack the code gets to add that new block of transactions to the chain. And finally, all the other computers on the network double-check their work, and boom, your transaction is locked in forever. Okay, that's enough theory for now. How does any of this actually apply to you? Let's get practical and walk through what your very first steps into the world of crypto might look like. It's a lot more straightforward than you might think. First step, pick an exchange. Think of this as a marketplace where you can trade your regular cash for crypto. Coinbase is a really popular one for beginners. From there, you just create an account and verify who you are, just like you would with any other financial app. Then you link up a debit card or bank account and you're all set to buy. And remember, you don't need thousands of dollars. You can start with whatever amount you feel comfortable with. Hold on. Before we move on, this is absolutely critical. I mean it. You must enable two-factor authentication, or 2FA. This just means that to log in, you need your password plus a one-time code that gets sent to your phone. It is the single best thing you can do to protect your crypto from getting stolen. Please, whatever you do, do not skip this step. All right, now with the potential for big rewards, there's always going to be significant risk. It is so important that you go into this with your eyes wide open. So let's talk about the things you really need to watch out for. And look, it's important to be really direct about the dangers here. The source material itself says it perfectly. Fraudulent-minded persons have devised different means of ripping innocent investors. The crypto space is exciting, for sure, but that excitement has also attracted a lot of scammers. Being cautious and educated is your absolute best defense. So the risks really fall into 4 main buckets. First, there's market risk. That's the wild price swings we saw earlier. Then you've got liquidity risk, which is a fancy way of saying you might not be able to sell your crypto for cash exactly when you want to. Third is legal risk. Governments are still figuring this stuff out, and the rules could change overnight. And finally, operational risk. The exchange you're using could get hacked or even go out of business. You've got to be aware of all of them.
And oh yeah, let's not forget about taxes. This is a big one. In the United States, for example, the IRS doesn't see crypto as money. They see it as property, like a stock or piece of real estate. So what does that mean? It means if you sell it for more than you bought it for, you're going to owe capital gains tax on that profit. It's a really crucial detail to remember.
All right, we have covered a ton of ground. So before we wrap this all up, let's do a quick lightning round of a few of the most essential terms, just to make sure they really stick with you. First up, a wallet. This is just the piece of software you use to manage all your crypto. Now, it doesn't actually hold the coins themselves. Those live on the blockchain. What it holds are the secret keys that prove you own your funds and give you access to them. It's basically your personal portal to the entire network. And that brings us to maybe the single most important concept in all of crypto security, your private key. This is a long, secret code that is the ultimate proof that you own your crypto. If someone else gets their hands on it, they can take everything. You have to protect it like it's the master password to your entire life. Never, ever, ever share it with anyone. And finally, mining. Remember those powerful computers we talked about racing to solve puzzles? That's mining. It's the engine that keeps the whole network secure and running. By solving those puzzles, miners verify all the transactions, and as a reward for all that work and electricity, they get paid in brand new coins. This is literally how new Bitcoin is born and enters circulation. And that's it. We've gone all the way from the big idea of being your own bank, down into the weeds of how blockchain works, and all the way through the practical steps and serious risks. You now have the fundamental building blocks, so the only question left to ask is the biggest one of all. What role will all these digital currencies actually play in our future?
So today we're going to do something a little different. We're not actually deconstructing cryptocurrency itself, but something that honestly might be even more important. The way it's presented to us, the way it's sold to us. We're going to take a close look at the messaging, the psychology, and all the promises that are aimed at newcomers, just by breaking down one really powerful piece of marketing.
And here it is. You know, at first glance, this isn't just a book cover. It's a complete package, and it's been put together very, very carefully. It's designed to grab the attention of anyone who's even a little bit curious, or maybe even a little anxious about the whole world of crypto. It makes this huge, compelling promise of changing your financial life. So our job today is to figure out exactly how it works.
All right, so to really understand what's going on here, we have to start with the most basic question. Who is this for? Well, the cover isn't trying to be subtle about it at all. It makes its target audience and its main promise totally clear from the second you look at it.
I mean, look at that title. It's big, it's bold, it's direct, and it's just packed with keywords. Bitcoin and cryptocurrency are easily two of the biggest buzzwords in finance right now. This is designed to show up in a search, to catch your eye, and to immediately tell you, hey, this is relevant to what's happening right now.
But, you know, it's not just about those big keywords. Let's zoom in on the other words on the cover. The ones that were chosen with, like, surgical precision. Every single phrase here is doing a very specific job. It's trying to pull you in, build your trust, and get you to lower your guard.
And this right here might be the most important phrase on the entire cover. For beginners. Just 3 simple words, but they completely tear down this huge wall that stops a lot of people. They're basically screaming, this really complex, intimidating world, hey, it's for you. You don't need to be an expert. We're going to make it easy. It's a wide open invitation. And just think about the sheer power of the promise being made right here. This isn't selling you on slow, patient, long-term learning. No, this is all about getting results right away. Everything you need tells you it's a complete, all-in-one package. Start making money is the goal, front and center. And then today, well, that gives you that hit of instant gratification we're all looking for.
But then, right after that promise of quick cash, you get this. This part of the message is tapping into a totally different desire. It's not just about making money fast. It's about becoming an expert, gaining mastery, and getting a real, genuine understanding. It suggests this isn't just some gimmick. It's a pathway to actual long-term skill.
So when you put them side by side like this, the whole strategy just clicks into place. It's brilliant, really. It's targeting 2 desires that are almost opposites at the exact same time. It's talking to the part of us that wants a quick win, right now, and the part that wants to become a true expert with deep, meaningful skills. It's engineered to get you, no matter which one you value more.
But here's the thing. The words are only half the story. The visual message going on here is just as powerful, maybe even more so. Images can send really complex ideas to our brains in an instant, and they kind of bypass our critical thinking and go straight for our emotions.
So the cover really leans on two incredibly powerful visual symbols. You've got these shiny, physical-looking coins, and then you have this clean, super optimistic graph that's just pointing straight up. So let's break down what each of these is really saying to us.
I mean, think about it. Why would you show something that's purely digital, like Bitcoin, as a big, heavy metallic coin? Well, because it makes it feel real. It makes it feel tangible, valuable, and trustworthy, the same way we think about gold or silver. It takes this really abstract idea and connects it to a symbol of wealth that we've understood for thousands of years.
And then you've got the graph, which basically tells you the story's happy ending before you've even started. This simple line going up, it's one of the most powerful symbols in the entire world of finance. It means one thing and one thing only: growth, profit, and success. And notice what's not here. There are no dips, no volatility, no risk at all. Just a smooth, steady climb to the top.
Okay, so let's put it all together. What happens when you combine these perfectly chosen words with these really powerful symbolic images? Well, you get something that's much more than just a book cover. You get a complete and very, very persuasive story.
And this is the key takeaway, right? None of this is an accident. These are not just random elements thrown together. This is a finely tuned machine where every single part is working together. The phrase, "for beginners," welcomes you. The double promise of quick cash and deep knowledge covers all the bases. The shiny, real coins and that always rising graph build your trust and get you excited. And the whole thing is presented by a trading academy to make it feel official and authoritative.
And that really brings us to the most important thing to take away from all this. Look, the goal here isn't to judge whether the information in this book is good or bad. It's to understand just how powerful its packaging is. Because when you're presented with a story that's this simple, this appealing, this perfect, it should be a signal. It's a signal to start asking some important questions. What parts of the real story might be missing here? What complexities are being completely smoothed over? And maybe most importantly, what risks are being left completely unmentioned? That's the real lesson here.
You ever look at the world of cryptocurrency and just freeze? You think, where on earth would I even start? Well, today, we're going to break down the very first thing a curious beginner might see, the cover of a trading guide. We're going to pick apart what it promises, what it highlights, and, how it's engineered to turn that feeling of, I don't know, into, okay, let's do this. All right, so here it is. This is the cover for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency trading, and it's going to be our main focus for this explainer. And I want you to remember, nothing on this page is an accident. Every single word, every image, it's all carefully chosen to send a very specific message. So let's start tearing that message apart piece by piece. First things first, any good guide has to answer the most important question right away. Who is this for? And let me tell you, this cover is not subtle about it. It's basically shouting the answer from the rooftops. And bam, right there, you can't miss it. That bold yellow banner with the two most important words on the entire cover. For beginners. This isn't some tiny footnote, it's a headline. It's this giant glowing welcome mat designed to make you feel like, okay, this is a safe space, this isn't going to be too complicated for me. So what this really does is it just vaporizes the intimidation factor. It's speaking directly to anyone who's heard all the crypto jargon and felt completely overwhelmed. It says, hey, you, yes, you, this book, this is your entry point. This is where you start. It takes this huge, complex topic and frames it as something anybody can get into, starting today. Okay, so the cover has grabbed the beginner's attention. It's established who it's for. Now it has to answer the next, even more important question. Why? Why should you, the beginner, actually pick this up? Well, the answer is right there in the subtitle, and it's a powerful one. The subtitle kicks off with this huge claim, everything you need to know. Now, this is such a classic move. It's designed to build trust and cut through that feeling of being overwhelmed by too many choices. It's not just saying, here's some info. It's saying, this is a complete, all-in-one solution. You don't need to look anywhere else. And then, there it is, the real hook. To start making money online today. Just think about how powerful those words are in that specific order. Making money, that's the result you want. Online, that means it's convenient. And today, that's the magic word that gives you that hit of immediacy. This isn't some boring long-term homework assignment. No, this is a fast track to getting results like right now.
But here's what's really clever. Right after that promise of quick money, they add another layer. It says, and grow a deeper knowledge. This is brilliant because it hits you on two levels. It appeals to that part of you that wants a quick win, but it also speaks to the part that wants to actually feel smart and become an expert in the long run. It's a perfect 1-2 punch, instant gratification followed by long-term wisdom. Now let's shift gears from the text for a second and look at the visuals. Because the cover doesn't just use words to get its point across. It uses some really powerful symbols to make a super complicated market feel, well, simple. Just look down at the bottom of the cover. You see those 3 coins, right? Now, you got to remember, there are literally thousands of different cryptocurrencies out there. So the fact that they picked these specific 3, that's a very deliberate choice. It begs the question, why these 3 to represent the entire industry to a total newbie?
And here's where their strategy becomes crystal clear. They're taking this huge, chaotic universe of crypto and boiling it down to just 3 main headliners. You've got Bitcoin, the OG, the gold standard that everyone's heard of. Then there's Ethereum, which is like the massive, well-known number 2. And then you have Ripple, or XRP, as another big established player. For a beginner, this takes a market that feels infinite and confusing and turns it into a manageable trio. It's not so scary anymore. Okay, so let's put all the pieces together. When you combine the friendly, welcoming text with the simplified, clean visuals, what's the total package that this cover is selling to someone who's just starting out? The overall message is just a masterclass in marketing, really. It's positioning this book as the key that unlocks this super complex world. It's making a field that feels intimidating suddenly feel totally accessible. It's creating a straight line to the thing people want, making money. And it frames the whole thing as the first step in a real structured education, which brings us to the final piece of the puzzle. And check this out, the name at the very top and bottom, Gorpay Trading Academy. See, this isn't just a book from some random person. It's branded as part of an entire system. That word academy, it just sounds official. It implies there's a curriculum, there's authority, a real path to success. And for someone stepping into a field that's famous for being wild and unpredictable, that feeling of structure is incredibly reassuring.
So, all in all, this cover does an absolutely incredible job of marketing to beginners. It promises that this world is accessible, it's simple, and it's profitable. But, it also leaves us with a really important question to think about. Whenever something this complex is made to feel this simple, what are the crucial details, the risks, the nuances that might be getting left out of the picture? All right, let's jump right in. Now, we're not going to teach you how to trade crypto today. Nope. Instead, we're going to do something a little different and, I think, a lot more interesting. We are going to deconstruct the promise of crypto trading, and we're going to do that by taking a really close look at the cover of a beginner's guide just to see what it's really selling to someone who's hoping to get started. Okay, so Section 1, the new digital frontier, a world of digital treasure. You hear about crypto all the time, and it's always pitched as this new digital frontier, right? A huge, exciting place full of stories about digital gold rushes and hidden treasure. But just like any real frontier, it can be pretty complex and, honestly, kind of intimidating when you first show up. So let me ask you this. Ever feel like you've completely missed the boat on crypto? I mean, this question really gets at something, doesn't it? You hear all these wild stories about people becoming millionaires overnight, you see the crazy headlines, and it's so easy to feel like this huge, massive opportunity is just sailing away without you. And that feeling, that fear of missing out, man, that is a powerful motivator. But here's the thing. That feeling of wanting to jump in often smacks right into a hard reality. This is a really complex world with its own language and its own rules. Seriously, you've got a whole new dictionary to learn. Words like blockchain, wallets, NFTs, DeFi. I mean, the list goes on. And all these unique rules, it can feel completely overwhelming. All right, next up, a guide appears. We're searching for a map. Think about it. When you're standing at the edge of some huge, complicated new place, what's the very first thing you look for? It's a map, right? You want a guide, something to help you figure out the landscape and, not fall into any hidden traps. Exactly.
When we start any new journey, we look for a guide. It's a totally natural human instinct. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're learning how to cook a new dish, climb a mountain, or, dive into the world of crypto. You're always looking for a trusted source to kind of show you the ropes. And that brings us right here. Today's source claims to be that exact guide. This book cover you're looking at, this is exactly the kind of thing someone new to crypto would grab. It basically presents itself as the ultimate map to this whole new world. It's promising to take everything that's complex and make it simple, and take everything that feels risky and make it profitable. So, let's do it. Section 3. Decoding the promise. What does this map actually offer? We're going to break down everything right here on the cover. The words, the claims, the pictures, to really understand the powerful message it's sending to anyone out there hoping to strike some of that digital gold. Okay, first thing you see, right? Its primary audience is crystal clear. For beginners. Boom. Right away, the cover just tears down the biggest wall for most people, that fear of complexity. Those two words are like a giant welcoming sign. They're basically screaming, hey, you don't need any experience, you belong here, this was made just for you. And then you get this line, everything you need to know. Just pause on that for a second. Everything. That is such a bold word, right? It's promising a complete, all-in-one package. It's basically saying, don't worry about looking anywhere else, we got you. It's a promise of total knowledge, all from this one single book. And then comes the real kicker. To start making money online today. There it is. That's the hook. See, this isn't just about learning some new boring skill. It's about earning. And not, someday, maybe down the road. Nope, today. This line speaks directly to that fear of missing out we talked about. It promises you can get in the game and start seeing results right now. So if you put it all together, these are the core promises being made. First, it promises simplicity for newcomers. It's easy, don't worry. Second, it promises comprehensive knowledge. Everything you need is right here. Third, it promises immediate profitability. You can make money today. And finally, it even hints at deeper expertise over time. It's really being sold as the total, complete package from A to Z. And of course, it's not just the words, right? The imagery here is reinforcing this whole message of real wealth and growth. I mean, look at those coins. They're shiny, they look solid and physical. You've got Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, and making these abstract digital things look like real, tangible treasure you can hold in your hand, that's powerful. And then, kind of hiding in the background, you've got that subtle, upward trending graph. It's basically whispering, this is where things are headed. Up. And one last thing. Check out the publisher's name, Gorpow Trading Academy. That's not just some random author's name. They specifically chose the word academy. And that word, it just sounds official, doesn't it? It suggests a formal, structured system of learning, like a real school. It's designed to build trust and make you feel like you're not just buying a book, you're enrolling in a program. All right, on to our last section, your journey begins, the promise versus the path. So we've just spent all this time decoding the promise on the cover, and you gotta admit, it's pretty tempting. But now let's put that promise up against the actual path you have to walk to learn any complex skill. And really, this is the core tension right here. In one column, you've got the promise, a simple guide to instant wealth. Sounds amazing. But in the other column, you have the reality. Trading requires knowledge, strategy, and risk. And look, the reality of any kind of trading, whether it's crypto, stocks, doesn't matter, is that it takes deep knowledge, a solid strategy. And yeah, there's always risk involved. There just are no shortcuts. Now, that's not to say a guide like this is useless. Not at all. It can absolutely be a helpful starting point. But that's the key phrase, isn't it? A starting point. It's just the first step on what's actually a much longer road. The real learning, the real skill, that comes from continuing to educate yourself, from practicing, and from gaining experience. You know that old saying, the map is not the territory? And so we're going to end with this question for you to think about. Is this the map to your treasure, or is it just the first step on a much, much longer journey? The next time you see a promise like the one on this cover, and you will see them, it's worth taking a second to ask yourself, is this really offering me the complete, finished map to the treasure, or is it just pointing me to where the trail begins, leaving the rest of the adventure up to me? Have you ever seen one of those guides that promises to teach you absolutely everything you need to know about crypto trading? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do today. We're going to deconstruct one just by looking at its cover. We'll break down the promises it's making, the path it lays out for you, and who it's really for. Right off the bat, you can't miss the core promise here. This isn't just about learning some new hobby, it's about earning. The guide claims it has everything you need to know to start making money online today. Wow. I mean, that's a huge claim, right? It sets the bar super high for anyone who even thinks about picking this up. So a promise like that, what does it actually mean for a total beginner who's stepping into the crazy and, let's be honest, often volatile world of crypto? Let's dig into the answers this guide gives us, starting with who it's aimed at. All right, first things first, who is this guide even for? Well, the cover makes that crystal clear. Yeah, it's slapped right on there in big letters, for beginners. So that's a huge signal that everything inside is supposed to be framed for someone with zero prior knowledge. It's meant to be your absolute first step into the crypto trading universe. Okay, so we know it's for beginners, but what's the end goal? Where are they trying to take you? The guide is just as direct about the destination. It's all about the promise of profit. And there it is again, just so you don't miss it. Start making money online today. See, this isn't some deep philosophical dive into blockchain technology. Nope. This is all about action. It's a practical manual with a very clear and a very tempting main objective, making money and fast. But to get to that goal, you're going to need a map, right? And according to this guide, your map starts with just 3 core cryptocurrencies. You can see right on the cover how they anchor this whole journey. They put 3 coins front and center. The idea here is pretty simple. For a beginner, the massive crypto universe can feel overwhelming. So let's just focus on a few of the giants to start. And we can clearly see Bitcoin and Ethereum there. Of course, first up, you've got Bitcoin. You know, the OG, the one that kicked this whole thing off way back in 2009. For most people, when you say crypto, this is the coin they picture. So it's presented as the absolute must-know starting point. Next up, we've got Ethereum, the number 2 player in the game. And this one is super important to get because, well, it's more than just digital money. Think of it more like a platform. It's the thing that runs all these decentralized apps and smart contracts, which really just blew open what you could do with blockchain tech. All right, that third coin on the cover is a little more generic looking, but a crypto that often gets bundled into these beginner packs is Ripple, or XRP, and its whole deal is different again. It was designed to be this kind of bridge, helping money move super fast and cheap across borders, connecting old school finance with the new digital world. Okay, so you've met the big players. Now what? Well, the guide then lays out a clear path to get you from just knowing about them to actually trading them. And this is basically the 4-step journey it's promising. You start with the fundamentals, the absolute basics. Then you get to know those core cryptos we just talked about. Step 3 is the big one. You actually start trading. But, and this is key, it doesn't just stop there. It emphasizes that you have to keep learning. And that's such a crucial point, right? The promise isn't that you'll do one trade and be done. This guide is positioning itself as a launch pad. The end goal is to grow a deeper knowledge of crypto trading, which really suggests that this is just the first step on a much longer, much more involved journey. You know, every journey needs a guide, and this one is very upfront about who's holding the map. And that guide is the Gorpalk Trading Academy. See how their name and logo are right up top? They're not just selling you a book. They're presenting themselves as a whole educational institution. They want to be the authority that you trust as you step into this pretty wild new territory. And all of this kind of leaves us with one big question, doesn't it? We've seen who it's for, what it's promising, and the path it lays out. But can a single guide, even one that promises you everything, really be the key to mastering something as wild, as complicated, and as fast-moving as cryptocurrency trading? That's probably the real question to chew on long after you've put the book down. Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're not going to talk about buying crypto. No, we're going deeper. We're looking at how the idea of crypto gets sold to people. We're going to tear apart a crypto pitch. And trust me, the psychology behind it is, well, it's pretty fascinating. I mean, have you ever thought about getting into crypto? For most of us, it just seems so complicated, right? That's the huge wall that stops people. So what do? Well, you look for a guide, some book or course that says, hey, don't worry, I'll make it all simple for you. And this book cover, right here, this is going to be our case study today. We're going to treat it like an archaeological dig. We'll break it down piece by piece and see exactly how it's designed to tap into all the hopes and, yeah, all the fears of someone who's just starting out. Okay, so every great pitch, every great story really starts with a big, bold promise. It's like a call to adventure. Let's dig into the title here and see how it does exactly that. So first up, the main title. You've got Bitcoin and cryptocurrency trading. Now think about that. That's not just a title, it's literally what a beginner would type into a search engine, right? This thing isn't just sitting on a shelf hoping someone finds it. It's engineered to be discovered.
But it's this part that's just genius. Everything you need to know. That right there, that's for the part of your brain that's scared of missing something important. It's calming. Then, bam, to start making money online today. That hits you right in the desire for a quick win. It's this perfect 1-2 punch. First, it calms your fears, then it promises a reward. Now.
But wait, there's more. It doesn't just stop at get rich quick. It then adds and grow a deeper knowledge of crypto trading. See what they did there? This is for the part of you that wants to be smart, that wants to feel like an expert. It's not just about making a quick buck anymore. Now it's about becoming a master. That adds this whole layer of seriousness and legitimacy to it.
So let's put those two things side by side. On one hand, you have start making money online today. On the other, grow a deeper knowledge. This is the core strategy, and it's brilliant. It's promising you two totally different things at the same time. It's like saying, hey, you get the thrill of a winning lottery ticket, and you get the satisfaction of earning a PhD. It wants to be both, and it's a really powerful combination.
So who is this book actually for? Who's the hero of this story? Well, the cover makes it crystal clear.
Right there, big, bold letters. For beginners. And you gotta understand, those two words are doing so much work. It's not just a category, it's an invitation. It's basically shouting, hey you, feeling intimidated? Don't be. You don't need to know anything. This is for you. You belong here. It just wipes away all that fear. Okay, so we have our hero, the beginner. But every hero needs a mentor, a guide, right? And this cover gives us one with a very, very specific name. Think about the word academy. Why that word? It's not random. It makes you think of a school, of structure, of experts, of something official and safe. I mean, it sounds a whole lot more credible than, say, Gorpale's crypto hot takes, right? So by calling it the Gorpal Trading Academy, it's not just some guy's opinion anymore. Suddenly, it's the official teaching of an entire institution, and that just injects this huge dose of credibility into the whole thing before you've even turned the first page. All right, let's switch gears and talk about the visuals. The words are doing one job. They're making the promises, but the images, oh, the images are doing something else. They're designed to skip right past your logical brain and hit you right in the gut. They make you feel it. So we've got the promise, we've got the guide, but what's the vibe of the cover? How does it make you feel? Because this is where the persuasion really kicks into high gear. Everything from the colors to the symbols, it's all there for a reason. First thing you probably see are those 3 coins at the bottom: Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple. Yeah, sure, but look closer. They're shown as heavy, physical, metal coins. That's a super clever psychological trick. It takes this confusing digital thing and makes it feel real, solid, like you could actually reach out and grab it, like real treasure. And check out the background behind the coins. See that faint graph line? That is not what a real crypto chart looks like with all its crazy ups and downs. No, this one only goes one way, up. It's a visual promise that basically screams profit while completely ignoring the reality of risk. It's a perfect world, right on the cover. So you put it all together. You've got these 3 solid coins representing the big players. You've got the graph that only goes up, promising growth. And then you have the colors, that deep blue, the gold, the silver. It all just screams money and serious business. It's this powerful visual mix that's basically designed to say one thing: this is real, and you're going to succeed. Okay, so we've taken this thing apart. What have we actually learned? What's the takeaway from this little marketing masterclass? Well, this cover isn't just a cover. It's a story. It's basically the entire hero's journey packed into one image. You've got the hero, the beginner. You've got the promise, quick money and deep knowledge. You've got the guide, the authoritative academy. And you've got the vision, that upward graph, those shiny coins. It's the whole adventure laid out right in front of you. And so that leaves us with one last question to chew on.
The whole point of this pitch is to promise a simple, easy path. But in a world as messy and complicated as crypto, maybe the most important question you can ask yourself is, when something looks this simple, what are they leaving out? All right, let's dive into a topic that's on pretty much everyone's mind these days, but can also feel kind of intimidating: cryptocurrency trading. We're going to take a look at a beginner's guide and see what it can really teach us about getting our feet wet in this wild and complex world. I mean, does your head start to spin whenever you hear people talking about Bitcoin, blockchains, and bull markets? Do you feel like you totally missed the boat? Or maybe you're just thinking, where would I even begin? Trust me, that's a super common feeling. You are definitely not alone. Because let's be honest, the whole crypto space can feel like you're trying to learn a completely new language, right? You've got these crazy price swings and a constant flood of news coming at you from every direction. So yeah, no wonder it can feel a little daunting for a newcomer. But what if there was a way to cut through all of that noise? Is there a way for a total beginner to find a clear path forward? Well, that's what we're here to explore. So this is our source material for today, the cover of Bitcoin and Cryptocurrency Trading for Beginners. We're basically going to treat this cover like a map and see what clues it can give us for starting our own journey into the crypto world. And right away, bam, we see a really bold promise. This isn't just about learning theory. It's positioned as a tool for immediate action. That's a pretty powerful hook for anyone who's eager to just jump right in. The message here is crystal clear. This isn't some dense, theoretical textbook. It's meant to be a practical starting point, something designed to get you past that initial feeling of being totally overwhelmed. And look at this. The guide comes from the Gorpally Trading Academy. Now that's a key detail. By calling itself an academy, it's suggesting a structured educational approach, not just a random collection of tips you'd find on the internet. And just to be absolutely 100% clear, they spell out their target audience in huge, bold letters. This is a promise that you don't need to know anything beforehand to get started. It's literally designed to take you from square one. Okay, now let's look a little closer at the cover art because it's giving us our first huge lesson. So many people hear crypto and they immediately think Bitcoin. But believe me, that is just the tip of the iceberg. The term cryptocurrency actually covers thousands of different digital assets, and each one has its own unique technology and its own purpose. Understanding that diversity is probably the very first step away from being a total novice. The cover itself actually shows us 3 different coins. Right there in the center, you've got Bitcoin, or BTC, the original gangster of crypto. Then on the left is Ethereum, ETH, which is way more than just a currency. It's a whole platform for building apps. And on the right, you have Ripple, or XRP, which is trying to make international payments faster and cheaper. So see, 3 coins, 3 very different goals. So the guide makes this big promise to help you make money, and it introduces the idea that the crypto market is diverse. But there is one more crucial element that the cover points to. And honestly, it might be the most important one of all. Here it is, the second part of the subtitle. It says it's not just about making money today. It's about building a deep, foundational knowledge of how this whole market really works. And that is such a critical point, because without understanding, you're not really trading, you're just gambling. Which really leaves us with a final thought to chew on. While the dream of quick profits is powerful, what this guide is suggesting is that the real investment isn't just in Bitcoin or Ethereum. It's in yourself. In a world this volatile and this complex, maybe, just maybe, a deep understanding is the only asset that truly matters. All right, today we're going to decode something pretty interesting, a guide that promises to be a map through the, let's face it, wild world of crypto. This thing is aimed at absolute beginners, so we're going to break down exactly what it's promising and how it frames that whole journey from novice to trader. Let's jump right in. So, do you ever feel like you're just standing on the sidelines, watching this massive wave of crypto news and jargon just fly past you? You hear about Bitcoin, Ethereum, trading, and it all sounds like a completely different language. Yeah, you are definitely not alone. And see, that's the big challenge, right? On one hand, you've got this incredible new frontier, just packed with opportunities. But on the other hand, it's a total labyrinth of technical stuff and, let's be honest, risk. So the big question is, where does a newcomer even begin? Well, for a lot of people, the answer is to find a guide.
You know, a map that says it'll show you the way, that'll cut through all that noise and give you a clear path forward.
And this right here is the map we're going to be looking at today. This guide really sets itself up as the solution for anyone feeling lost. I mean, it's got all the classic signs. You've got the bold letters, the familiar crypto symbols, and a super direct message. So right off the bat, the focus is crystal clear. This isn't some deep dive into the philosophy of blockchain or the history of digital money. Nope. It's about one thing, trading. It just zeroes right in on the most action-packed part of the crypto world.
And here's the other crucial part. It spells it out for beginners. Now that's a really powerful signal. It's basically saying, hey you, no experience needed, this is your starting line. We're gonna start from scratch.
Now, every good map has a destination, right? You know, the treasure marked with a big X. For this guide, the first, and let's be real, the most powerful promise is profit. It's that immediate hook designed to really grab your attention. I mean, just feel the force of that statement. They're not being subtle at all, are they? It's this bold, direct promise that taps right into why so many people get into crypto in the first place. They want to see some real, tangible results, and fast. This kind of language is just so effective because it cuts through all the complexity and hits that fear of missing out nerve head on. And notice how they frame this whole promise. It's laid out like a simple 1, 2, 3 process. First, get the knowledge from this guide. Second, use it to start making money. And third, the timeline isn't next month or next year, it's today. It completely reframes this huge, intimidating thing into a simple task you can do right now. But wait, it doesn't just stop there. After that huge, flashy promise of making money right away, the guide adds a second, more subtle goal. It's hinting that there's more to this whole journey than just making a quick buck. And this little phrase really highlights the second layer of what they're offering. That tiny word "and" is doing a whole lot of work here. It's connecting that short-term thrill of making money with the long-term goal of actually knowing what you're doing, of gaining real expertise. When you put them side by side like this, you can really see the psychology they're using. The guide is playing to two different desires at once. The get-rich-quick part gets you in the door, but the promise of deeper knowledge makes it feel legitimate. It gives you a path to mastery and long-term success. It's offering both the sizzle and the steak. Okay, so we've got a map, we've got a destination, and we've got this two-part quest. But who actually drew this map? Who's the guide that's offering to lead all these beginners on this adventure? So let's look at the full cover again. We can see all the pieces we've just talked about. But there's one more really important piece of info on here that's meant to give this guide its authority. And there it is, the Gorpal Trading Academy. So this guide isn't just from some random author, it's from an institution. This immediately frames the book not just as, well, a book, but as a curriculum from an organization that's all about trading. So let's just put this all together. What we've really decoded here is a complete package. The topic is specific and, let's face it, exciting. The audience is crystal clear. The promise is this powerful 1-2 punch of quick profits and real long-term knowledge. And the whole thing is backed by the implied authority of a trading academy. It's the whole shebang. So in the end, what this cover is really doing is presenting you with an invitation. It's laying out a clear path, it's promising you some pretty amazing destinations, and it's introducing a guide to take you there. It's literally handing you the map. So the only question left, the one it leaves for you to answer, is whether you're ready to actually take that first step and start the journey.
Have you ever seen a book that promises to teach you absolutely everything about something really complex? Well, today, we're not actually going to learn how to trade crypto. Instead, we're going to do something I think a lot more interesting. We're going to deconstruct the promise itself. Okay, so let's dive right in. This is our source material, the cover for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency trading for beginners. Just take a good look at it for a second. You've got the big, bold title, those shiny gold and silver coins, that graph line pointing straight up. Every single element you see here, yeah, that was chosen for a very specific reason.
And that really brings us to the big question for this whole explainer. I mean, beyond just teaching you about Bitcoin, what is this cover truly selling? We're about to peel back all those layers of design and text to really understand the powerful marketing message sitting right at the heart of it all.
Let's kick things off with the cover's most ambitious claim. It's tucked away right there in the subtitle. And man, it is a promise that is designed to make you stop in your tracks.
Just focus on this one little phrase, everything you need to know. I mean, think about it. If you're a beginner, the world of crypto feels overwhelmingly huge and, frankly, pretty intimidating. This phrase is like the perfect antidote to that feeling. It's a promise of simplicity. And maybe even more important, it's a promise of completeness.
See, the cover isn't just offering you a book. It's positioning this thing as the definitive, all-in-one solution. The message here is that you're not going to need to spend hours getting lost in online forums. You won't need to buy any other guides. It's a really powerful way to build trust and basically say, hey, don't worry, we've done all the heavy lifting for you.
Okay, so now let's look at how this promise is laser-focused on its target audience, the beginner. Every single word, every image on this cover is so carefully calibrated to speak directly to their hopes and especially to their fears.
And this just lays out the psychology perfectly. Over on the left, you've got all those classic beginner anxieties. They're worried about how complex it all is, they've got that fear of missing out, and of course, the big one, they're terrified of losing their money. Now look to the right. The cover offers a direct solution for each one. Complexity? Solved by a complete guide. That fear of missing out? Nope. You can start today. And the risk of losing money gets totally flipped into the ultimate goal, making money. It's brilliant. So when you put it all together, you realize the cover isn't just selling information, it's selling confidence. It's positioning itself as this trusted guide, a kind of safe harbor for anyone who wants to dip their toes into the, let's be honest, often choppy waters of crypto trading.
Okay, let's switch gears from the words to the visuals for a minute, because the images on this cover are every bit as deliberate and strategic as the text.
So, take a close look at these 3 coins sitting right there at the bottom. These were absolutely not chosen at random. So why these 3 specifically? What kind of message does putting them front and center send to the beginner this book is aimed at?
And of course, they are Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Ripple. Now, to an expert, the crypto world has thousands of coins, but to a total beginner, these are probably the only 3 names they've ever even heard of. Using them here is like marketing comfort food. It uses that familiarity to make the whole topic feel way less foreign and a lot more approachable.
But all of this, the promise of a complete guide, the comfort of seeing familiar coins, it's all building up to the single most powerful hook on the entire cover. This is the part that speaks directly to why most people are even interested in the first place.
And there it is. Start making money online today. Let's just break that down. The 2 most powerful words here are, without a doubt, money and today. This phrase just completely bypasses the intellectual side of your brain that wants to learn, and it taps directly into that emotional desire for immediate results.
So, learning is just framed as a way to get to an immediate, tangible goal, profit. And that word today creates this incredible sense of urgency and possibility. It turns the book from just being an educational tool into a potential money-making machine that you can, supposedly, switch on right now.
So let's put all the pieces back together. What have we actually learned by taking apart this one book cover? What's the underlying marketing strategy that it shows us?
This slide just sums it all up perfectly, doesn't it? We've seen a really clear 4-step strategy. Number 1, you target a specific, powerful fear. In this case, complexity. 2, you offer a total, all-in-one solution. 3, you use familiar visuals to build that comfort and lower the intimidation factor. And finally, Number 4, you promise an immediate and super desirable outcome. It is a classic, and you know what? It's an incredibly effective marketing formula.
And that kind of brings us to our final thought. The point of all of this wasn't to judge the book itself, but to understand the craft that goes into making the promise on the cover. So the next time you see a guide, or a course, or a video that's promising you the world, you now have the tools to look a little deeper. You can ask yourself, what fear is it targeting? What solution is offering? And what's that immediate result it's trying to sell me? Because now you know how to read the code.
All right, so today we're going to do something a little different. We're not just looking at a topic, we're looking at how we're taught about a topic. We're going to deconstruct the promises that get made in all those crypto guides for beginners. So let's dive in and see what's really being promised. You've probably asked yourself this exact question. You see all the buzz about crypto and you want in, but man, where do you even begin? It can feel super complex, kind of intimidating, so your first instinct is to find a map, a guide to help you navigate this whole new world. And when you go looking, you often land on something that looks a lot like this. This cover is what we're going to be picking apart today, because like so many others out there, it starts with a big, bold, and very attractive promise right on the front.
So our mission right now is to analyze the messaging on this cover, piece by piece. What's it really offering you? What's the story it's telling a complete newcomer about the world of crypto trading? Let's find out. First up, let's just unpack the words themselves. The language on this cover is chosen very, very carefully to tap into some very specific hopes, and maybe a few anxieties too. To someone just starting out, the crypto world can feel like this huge, complicated wall. So these guides almost always start with two simple, powerful words. For beginners. It's a signal that says, hey, it's safe over here. Don't worry if you know nothing. This is for you. It's all about lowering that barrier to entry and making you feel like, yeah, you can totally do this. But then, oh yeah, the promise gets so much bigger. Just look at this line. Everything you need to know to start making money online today. Wow, that is an incredibly potent sentence. Let's break it down. Everything you need to know tells you this is the complete package, a one-stop shop. And start making money today? That hits you right in the desire for immediate results. Not next week, not next year, but today. And that, of course, is the big question you have to ask yourself, right? Can any single guide really give you everything you need to know about a market this complex and get you profits on day one? That claim sets a seriously high expectation. But then you look a little closer, and right below that promise of instant cash, there's this. Grow a deeper knowledge. Now that's a completely different vibe, isn't it? That's not about a quick win. That's talking about a longer journey, about building real expertise and understanding. So here's the key thing to see. This guide is making two very different, almost contradictory promises at the same time. It's hitting you with the immediate profit angle. You can start making money today. But it's also promising deep expertise. You can grow your knowledge for the long term. It's trying to be a lottery ticket and a college textbook all at once. Okay, so we've looked at the words. Now let's switch gears and look at the visuals, because the images on this cover are telling their own powerful story. Notice they don't overwhelm you with dozens of different coin logos. That would just be confusing. Instead, they carefully pick just 3. And for someone who's new to all this, these 3 coins effectively become the crypto market. They're the faces of this whole new world. And each one plays a perfect role in the story. You've got Bitcoin, the original, the one everybody's heard of. It represents stability. Then there's Ethereum, the innovator, the platform that hints at the future. And finally, you have Ripple's XRP, which acts as a bridge back to the world you already know, banks and finance. Together, they paint this picture of a market that's established, futuristic, and safe. And don't forget the branding. This guide isn't from Gorpal's Trading Tips, it's from the Gorpal Trading Academy. That word academy is so important. It makes it sound official, structured, like a legitimate school. It just adds this huge layer of authority and safety to the whole thing. So when you put all of this together, the words, the coins, the branding, what's the journey that this cover is actually selling you? It's laying out this beautifully simple 4-step path. Step 1, you get the guide. Step 2, you gain the knowledge. Step 3, you start trading. And of course, step 4, you make money. It takes a really complex, often volatile process and turns it into a simple, straightforward checklist. So after breaking down the language, the images, and this implied journey, it all really boils down to one final, crucial question for you, the learner. And this is the real takeaway. These guides are designed to give you the confidence to just start. But maybe the first real question isn't, how do I make money today? Maybe it's this: understanding the difference between the easy path you're being sold and the real journey you're about to begin. Because what you do with that understanding, that's where the real learning starts. You know, we're always told not to judge a book by its cover. But today, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to break down the powerful pitch that's hiding in plain sight, right on the cover of a crypto trading book, to really understand the psychology it uses to pull you in. So here it is, Bitcoin and cryptocurrency trading for beginners. I mean, on the surface, it looks pretty straightforward. But trust me, every single element here, from the title to the images to the words they chose, is there for a reason. So the real question we're asking is, what is this cover actually selling to someone who's new to all this? Okay, let's start with the biggest piece of text right after the title, the subtitle. It makes this huge promise that appeals to 2 very powerful and kind of contradictory things we all want. First, boom, it hits you with this incredible sense of urgency, the promise of immediate reward. I mean, those words,
start making money today, that's so potent. It just completely bypasses the idea that you have to go through some long, boring learning process. It's all about getting a fast, real result right now.
But then, right after that, it does a complete 180. This part of the promise speaks to a totally different desire, the one for actual mastery and long-term knowledge. So in one sentence, the cover promises you both the thrill of a shortcut and the security of becoming an expert. It's a brilliant way to have it both ways.
All right, let's move on to the next key piece of the puzzle, who this book is for. The cover is super clear about its target, and that little phrase, for beginners, is a huge part of its pitch. By plastering for beginners right there on the front, they're basically knocking down the biggest barrier for most people. It's a signal that says, hey, don't worry about all those complicated charts and crazy jargon you've heard about. This is for you. You can do this. It's designed to replace fear with a feeling of, okay, maybe I can handle this. So let's switch gears from the words to the pictures. The choice of which cryptocurrencies to put on the cover is definitely not random. So why these three? And there they are, right at the bottom, looking all solid and important, almost like real physical money. You've got Bitcoin, the one everyone's heard of. You have Ethereum, the tech powerhouse, and then Ripple, which people often connect with banks. Putting them there together is a very strategic move. You see, each of these coins is playing a specific role for the marketing here. Bitcoin gives it instant recognition and legitimacy. It's the original. Ethereum signals that this is about innovation and the future. And Ripple, well, with its connections to the financial world, it suggests stability and that this stuff is used in the real world. Together, they create this little portfolio of trust and familiarity. And finally, let's talk about the branding. This isn't just a book written by some random person. It's from the Gorpale Trading Academy. That one word, academy, is so important here. It's all about building a sense of authority. This slide just lays it out perfectly, doesn't it? On one side, you have a guide. That feels like a simple tool, right? Just a book with some information. But an academy? That sounds like a whole system, a real education. It feels like an institution. It completely elevates the product from just a book you buy to something you enroll in. So just think about that for a second. An academy promises structure, it promises credibility, and it promises a clear path to success. It turns a simple purchase into an investment in what feels like a proven educational system. And that makes the whole thing feel so much more serious and trustworthy. Okay, so let's put all the pieces back together. We've looked at the subtitle's promise, the target audience, the specific coins they chose, and the branding. What does all this add up to? When you look at it all at once, the core message is just a masterclass in marketing. It promises you quick results and deep knowledge. It makes a super complex topic feel simple and easy. It uses symbols you already know to build trust, and it brands itself like an official institution. You see, every element is working together to shut down any skepticism before you even have a chance to think about it. So, at the end of the day, the product here isn't really the paper and ink. The real product is a feeling. It's the feeling of empowerment. It's the confidence that you, yes, you, can succeed in this crazy, complex world. It's the thrill of seeing a golden opportunity that's simple enough for anyone to just grab. And that really brings us to the final and most important question. It's something you should ask yourself not just about this book cover, but about any offer that just seems a little too good to be true. Are you being sold a real promise, or are you just hearing a very, very good pitch? Figuring out the difference, well, that's the key to making a smart decision.
All right, let's dive in. Today, we're not going to talk about whether you should or shouldn't buy crypto. Nope. Instead, we're going to deconstruct something you see everywhere, the promise of crypto. We're going to look at how these really complex and, let's be honest, often risky financial topics are packaged up and sold to people who are just starting out. So, let's get into it.
So check this out. Our entire explainer today is going to revolve around this one single image, a book cover. Now, it might look pretty simple on the surface, but trust me, every word, every color, every little symbol on here has been carefully chosen to send a very specific message. And we're going to break it all down piece by piece.
So that brings us to the big question, right? Yeah, okay, it's selling a book about crypto trading, but what is it really selling? Is it just knowledge? Is it a skill? Or is it something way more powerful? Something like hope or speed, or maybe even the illusion that something really complicated is actually simple.
To answer that, we've got to start with who this is for. The title makes it crystal clear, and this, right here, is the first huge piece of the puzzle. It's a direct appeal to a very specific kind of hope.
Just look at those two words, for beginners. This phrase is doing so much work. It's basically a welcome mat. It's saying, hey, you don't need to be an expert. You don't need some fancy finance degree. This whole complicated world, don't worry, we made it simple just for you. It just completely removes the #1 barrier to entry, which is, of course, intimidation.
So, who is this beginner? Well, you can just picture them, right? It's someone who's heard the stories about crypto fortunes, so they're curious, but they're also a little nervous. They are probably feeling that classic FOMO, the fear of missing out. They see other people talking about their gains, and they're worried they're getting left behind. What they want is a key to a locked door, a simple map for a really complex universe. And, most importantly, they're hoping for a real, actual change in their finances. This book cover is speaking directly to every single one of those feelings. Okay, so let's keep going and see how this all builds. Because now we get to the core promise, the hook that's designed to be completely irresistible. This is where the marketing really kicks into high gear.
So the promise starts with this phrase, everything you need to know. And that is just masterful. I mean, for anyone who's feeling totally overwhelmed by a million different articles and videos and conflicting advice, this phrase is just a huge sigh of relief. It promises a complete, all-in-one solution. No more searching, no more confusion. All the answers, they're right here.
And boom, there it is. The promise isn't about learning for the sake of learning, it's about earning, to start making money online. This completely flips the script from just education to a tangible outcome. It directly hits that primary motivation of the audience we just talked about. It's not just a book, it's a tool to make you money.
And then they hit you with the final, most powerful word of all, today. Not next week, not when you feel ready, today. This one little word injects this incredible sense of urgency and immediacy. It completely bypasses the idea of, long-term strategy or patience or a learning curve. It just promises instant gratification. Now let's look at how this all fits together.
What we've just broken down here is what marketers call a classic value proposition. It's the core promise you make to a customer. And the value proposition here is just incredibly powerful. We're going to give you a simple, complete solution to make money, and you can start doing it right now.
But you got to look closely because there's this second, much softer subtitle, and grow a deeper knowledge of crypto trading. This is such a clever move. After that really aggressive make money today pitch, this line adds this layer of educational legitimacy. It's like it's saying, hey, don't worry, this isn't some fly-by-night, get-rich-quick scheme. You're also going to become knowledgeable and smart about this. It just balances the whole promise out perfectly. Okay, so we've talked about the words, but the message here isn't just in the text. The visuals on this cover are telling their own story, a really powerful one. So let's shift gears and look at what the images and the branding are communicating without saying a single word. So we're going to look at three things: the coins themselves, that simple line graph you see in the middle, and the brand name at the top.
First up, the coins. Now, this isn't just some random assortment. You can see we've got Bitcoin, the original, the most famous one, right there in the center. And it's flanked by Ethereum and Ripple, two other absolute giants in the space. Choosing these specific coins is all about signaling familiarity and legitimacy. It tells the beginner that this book is about the established, serious players, not some obscure, super risky tokens.
And now look at that simple little blue line graph. It's not a real stock chart, of course, but it doesn't need to be. It only goes in one direction, up. And this is just a brilliant, simple way to show the desired outcome. It's a universal symbol for growth, for profit, for success. Your brain sees that line and immediately just thinks gains. And finally, let's look at the brand Gorpal Trading Academy. The magic word here, the most important one, is academy. This isn't just Gorpal's crypto guide. By calling itself an academy, it just creates this whole aura of authority and professionalism. It makes you feel like you're not just buying a book, you're getting access to a real curriculum from a legitimate school. Okay, so let's zoom out and pull all of these different threads together. We've looked at the target audience, we've looked at the verbal promises, and we've looked at the visual cues. So, what does it all add up to?
What we're looking at here is pretty much a masterclass in marketing psychology. This cover is running a classic playbook. See how it all connects? It starts by targeting the very real anxieties and hopes of a beginner. Then it promises them this simple, complete solution to cut through all the noise. It hammers home the idea of speed and getting results now. It uses these universal symbols of legitimacy and wealth, and then it wraps the whole thing up in a brand that sounds authoritative. Every single element is working together to build this one powerful, cohesive, and, very persuasive message.
And that really brings us to our final thought here. This isn't just about crypto. I mean, you see this exact same playbook used for everything, for fitness, for starting an online business, for self-help. So the real takeaway is a question for all of us. In a world that is just full of complex and really important topics, how do we get better at spotting these subtle signals, at telling the difference between a genuine guide and a very, very well-crafted sales pitch? Definitely something to think about. Today, we're going to do something a little different. Instead of just diving into a topic, we're going to deconstruct the pitch for one. We're going to break down every single element of this book cover to see exactly how it's designed to pull you into the world of crypto.
All right, so this is what we're looking at. The cover for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency trading for beginners. Now, on the surface, it seems pretty straightforward, just promising you some knowledge. But a book cover is never just a label, right? It's the very first and maybe the most important piece of marketing. So let's take a closer look.
We really need to look past the obvious and ask ourselves, what emotional buttons is this cover trying to push? What fears is it trying to calm down? And what dreams is it trying to sell you before you've even read a single word? Let's peel back those layers and find out.
We're going to start right at the top with the biggest, boldest words on the page, the title. This is the first, and you could argue the most powerful part of the entire pitch.
Notice the structure here. It's really clever. It doesn't just say crypto. No, it starts with Bitcoin. That's the household name, the one everybody's heard of. That's the hook. Then it expands to cryptocurrency, which kind of hints at this much bigger world of opportunity. And finally, it lands on trading. That's an active word. It's not about learning. It's about what you are supposed to do.
So the cover has established the what. Now it needs to be really clear about the who. Who is this entire pitch actually aimed at?
And there it is. You literally can't miss it in those bright yellow letters. For beginners. Now, this single phrase is doing some incredibly heavy lifting. It's an immediate signal that just screams, hey, you belong here. This isn't for the experts. This is for you.
And think about what beginner really means in this context. It's a promise, right? It's a promise to cut through all the jargon, to bypass the intimidating complexity of things like blockchain. It's selling an easy on-ramp to a world that, let's be honest, can feel totally overwhelming. In short, it's selling simplicity.
Okay, so we know what we're trading and who it's for. But that's not enough, is it? The most critical part of the pitch has to answer the big question. Why? What's the ultimate payoff here? This subtitle. This is the core emotional driver. It's like a masterclass in marketing. Everything implies it's the only thing you'll ever need. Then you get start and today. Talk about a sense of urgency. This isn't about some 10-year retirement plan. It's about getting a result now. And the order of these phrases is absolutely not an accident. The primary promise, the real hook, is that instant gratification. Start making money today. The more, sensible long-term goal of gaining deeper knowledge comes second. The pitch leads with raw desire and only then follows up with logic.
All right, let's shift gears from the words to the pictures for a minute. The visuals on this cover are telling a story all their own, and you could argue it's even simpler and more powerful than the text.
This visual solves a huge marketing problem. I mean, cryptocurrency is abstract, right? It's just code. So how do you sell it? Well, you make it look like actual treasure. These currencies are shown as these heavy, shiny metallic coins that you could almost feel in your hand. It makes the intangible feel tangible, real, and valuable.
So you've got the valuable tools, the coins. And what do? The cover gives you a very simple visual answer. This graph line doesn't dip, it doesn't show any volatility or risk. It just goes up. It is a visual promise of one thing and one thing only: profit.
The visual story is incredibly streamlined. It's just 2 steps. Step 1, here are the assets. Step 2, here's the result, which looks pretty much guaranteed. It's a simple 2-part story of cause and effect, designed to make you forget about any complexity or potential downside.
And finally, who is delivering this incredible promise? Well, it's not just some random author, it's the Gorpay Trading Academy. That word, academy, is key. It sounds institutional, it sounds educational, incredible. It implies a structured system, and that lends authority to the entire package.
So, we've broken down the title, the audience, the goal, the visuals, and the authority. Now let's put all those pieces back together and see the complete pitch in all its glory.
So this is the whole picture. You've got a clear promise: trading crypto. It's aimed directly at an audience that feels overwhelmed, beginners. It offers them an immediate, super desirable goal: making money today. And it's all supported by a simple visual story of guaranteed profit, delivered by a source that sounds totally authoritative.
Absolutely nothing on this cover is an accident. The colors, the font, the order of the words, the imagery, it has all been meticulously engineered to do one thing: turn a curious, maybe hesitant beginner into a confident buyer who feels like they've just been handed a simple map to a treasure chest.
So, this is the pitch. The question is, are you buying it? But you know, the real point here isn't whether the book is good or bad. The point is to understand the mechanics of the pitch itself. By seeing how the message is constructed, how it targets our desire for simplicity and our hope for a quick result, we become more critical consumers. And that knowledge, well, that's the most valuable asset you can possibly have.
All right, today we're jumping into a world that's, let's be honest, both super exciting and kind of intimidating: Bitcoin and cryptocurrency trading. If you've ever felt like you're on the outside looking in, just trying to figure it all out, well, this is for you. We're going to break down a guide that's built to take you from knowing nothing to feeling confident.
You know, getting into the world of crypto can feel like you're stepping onto a whole new continent. You hear these incredible stories about people striking it rich, but the map, it seems like it's written in a language you just don't get. And that makes taking that very first step feel like the hardest part of the whole journey.
I think we've all been there. It's that classic FOMO, the fear of missing out. You see the headlines, you hear about the crazy price swings, and the stories of people who got in early, and it's so easy to think, man, did that ship already sail without me? That feeling right there is probably the biggest mental block for anyone even thinking about getting started.
And hey, if you felt that way, you are definitely not alone. The crypto market moves at lightning speed. I mean, new coins and projects are popping up constantly. For every one person you hear celebrating a big win, there's a huge crowd of us on the sidelines just wondering, okay, but what even is a blockchain?
It's a world filled with jargon, and that can be a real wall to climb over. You get hit with all these terms like blockchain, which is basically the super secure digital record book that makes everything work, or DeFi, which stands for decentralized finance, this huge idea of rebuilding finance without the big banks, and wallets, which are just the digital tools you need to store your crypto. It's literally like learning a whole new language just to get your foot in the door.
So what if you had a map to help you find your way through this crazy new landscape? What if you had a mentor to kind of show you the ropes? Well, that's exactly what we're looking at today, a guide that's designed to be that perfect starting point for beginners. And here it is. This is the guide we're going to be digging into: Bitcoin and cryptocurrency trading. Just looking at the cover, it makes its mission totally clear. This isn't trying to be some dense, heavy textbook for experts. Nope, it's a launchpad. It's the starting block for anyone who's new to this whole space.
You know, these might be the two most important words on the entire cover: for beginners. That's a huge signal. It's telling you right away that the stuff inside is focused on making things simple, on breaking down these big, complex ideas into small, manageable steps for people who are starting from square one.
And this guide comes from the Gorpali Trading Academy. So what does that tell us? It suggests that this isn't just some random list of tips you'd find on the internet. It's probably a structured educational resource that's meant to build your knowledge step by step, just like you learn any other new skill.
Okay, so every beginner's guide makes a promise, right? It paints a picture of what you'll be able to understand and what you'll be able to do after you've read it. So what exactly is this one promising to deliver? Let's break down the claims it makes right there on the cover.
So what's the big value proposition here? What are you supposed to get out of this? Well, the guide doesn't just give you vague hopes. It lays out 3 really specific things it wants to help you achieve, and they fall into a couple of key areas: knowledge and action.
The first promise is a pretty big one: learn everything you need. And everything has to start with the absolute basics. Like, what even is Bitcoin? Well, at its heart, it's the world's first digital currency that isn't controlled by any single bank or government. It's a person-to-person system for sending money online, and it's all locked down and secured by that blockchain technology we talked about. That's the foundation of everything.
Now, this second promise, this is the one that gets a lot of people's attention.
But how do you actually make money trading? The basic idea is simple. You try to buy a cryptocurrency when the price is low and sell it when the price is higher. The tricky part, and what a guide like this is supposed to teach you, is how to build a real strategy so you can handle the wild swings of the market and make smart decisions, not just, wild guesses.
And finally, the third promise is all about the long game. It's not just about getting a quick win. It's about growing a deeper knowledge. This means you start to understand different strategies. Are you going to be an active trader who's buying and selling all the time? Or are you a long-term investor, a hodler, as they say, who buys and holds on, believing in the future of the technology? A deeper knowledge helps you figure out which path makes sense for you.
So, here's the key takeaway from all that. The guide's big promise is all about balance. On one hand, it offers the chance for practical, immediate action, the ability to start trading. But on the other hand, it's also giving you the long-term value of real, foundational knowledge. It's trying to get you ready for both the sprint and the marathon.
Okay, so the guide has laid out the map. It's promised a destination, we've touched on some of the core ideas you'd run into, but understanding the path is one thing. Actually taking that first step is something else entirely. And this is the question every single beginner has to ask themselves: guide or no guide? It's that moment of decision. All the resources in the world can show you the path, they can explain the jargon, and they can warn you about the risks, but the choice to actually step through that door and start learning, that's all on you.
And that brings us to maybe the most important takeaway of all. Before you ever put a single dollar into Bitcoin or any other crypto, the very first, most critical investment you can possibly make is in your own education. Whether it's with this guide or some other resource, building your knowledge isn't just the first step, it's the only guaranteed way to start your journey on the right foot.
All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're diving into the world of Bitcoin and crypto trading by looking at just one thing: the cover of a beginner's guide. Why? Because it makes some really big promises, and we're going to use those promises to figure out what it actually takes for someone to get started in crypto.
Okay, so right off the bat, here's the line that grabs everyone's attention. Start making money online today. I mean, that's the dream, right? That's what pulls so many people in. And look, while the goal of trading is to make a profit, that word today, that's where we got to pause. Because in crypto, the chance for huge rewards is tied directly to huge volatility. And that just means prices can shoot for the moon or crash to the floor in a really short amount of time.
So let's get real about this whole money-making promise. If you want to chase those big gains, you absolutely have to be prepared for the risks. And that preparation? It isn't just about having cash to invest. No. It's about having the right knowledge before you even think about making your very first trade.
So this guide is basically promising a three-part journey. First, everything you need to know. For a total beginner, that really just means getting the fundamentals down, like how to set up a secure digital wallet or how to pick an exchange you can trust. Then, start making money today. You should really think of that as learning how to manage your risk from day one. And that last part, grow a deeper knowledge, well, that's the long-term goal. That's about learning to actually analyze the market instead of just gambling on it.
When you see the whole claim laid out like that, it sounds like it's promising a complete transformation, from total newbie to seasoned expert. But the reality is, that's not a switch you just flip. It's a process. The most successful people in this whole space are the ones who just never stop learning and adapting. Now let's talk about the world where all this trading is actually happening. What exactly are you buying and selling? It is so crucial to understand that not all cryptocurrencies are created equal, not even close. At its very core, trading is just speculating, right? You're betting on the future price of something. You try to buy low and sell high. Simple enough. But with literally thousands of different cryptos out there, the real skill is in understanding what you're buying and why you think its value is going to change.
These three coins you see on the cover, they represent totally different corners of the crypto world. You've got Bitcoin, the original, the one everyone's heard of. It's often called digital gold, a way to store value. Then there's Ethereum, which is more like a giant global computer that lets people build applications. Its value is all about its utility. And Ripple? That one's focused on a super specific job, helping banks send money internationally, but way faster and cheaper. Just understanding these differences is your first real step into analysis.
So you've got this complex world of different assets on one hand, and this strong desire to trade them on the other. This brings up what is probably the most important question for anyone just starting out.
And that really is the fundamental question.
I mean, the market is running 24/7, the amount of information out there is completely overwhelming, and the fear of making a big mistake is very real. So what's a safe, smart place to start? A really simple roadmap would be education first, then pick a trusted exchange, and finally, always start with an amount of money you are totally prepared to lose.
A guide like this can be a great starting point. Think of it like a map to get you oriented. But you always have to remember, a map is just a representation of the terrain. The best traders are constantly checking their map against what's happening in the real world by getting information from lots of different, high-quality sources. This label is absolutely key. For beginners, the #1 goal shouldn't be to get rich overnight. It should be to learn how to protect your capital. And that just means avoiding the most common mistakes, like making trades based on hype or fear, and never, ever investing more than you can truly afford to lose. Which brings us to our final and maybe most crucial point. Who are you getting your information from? In this space, the credibility of your sources is everything.
Seeing a name like an academy can give you a sense of authority, for sure. But honestly, it doesn't matter what the source is, whether it's an academy, a book, or some influencer on social media. Your job is to be critical. You've got to look for the people who teach risk management and real analysis, not just the ones who are promising you guaranteed profits.
So is a guide like this the key to unlocking a whole new financial world? It can certainly point you to the door, but the real first step isn't buying a book, and it isn't making a trade. It's committing yourself to continuous learning and a disciplined strategy. The crypto world has some incredible opportunities, there's no doubt about it. But those opportunities are really only there for the people who are prepared to navigate it with both knowledge and caution.
You know, we're bombarded with promises every single day. But have you ever really stopped to, take one apart? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do today. We are putting one single promise under the microscope. This one comes from the cover of a crypto trading guide, and we're going to see exactly how it's designed to pull you in. Okay, so here it is. This is what we're looking at, the cover of a trading guide. And, at first glance, it's got all the classic stuff, right? You see the familiar shine of the crypto coins, that super optimistic upward trending graph, and of course, some really bold, confident text. It definitely makes a powerful first impression, and that's the whole point. It's designed to hook you. But the real magic, well, that's in the details. Behind pretty much any effective piece of marketing, there's always one single powerful hook. So let's just cut through all the noise on this cover for a second and find that one core promise. What's the one thing they are really trying to sell you? And there it is. The promise here, it isn't about, patiently learning or building a long-term strategy. Nope, it is all about immediacy. That one word, today, that's the absolute key. It just completely reframes the entire offer. It's like turning a book into a button you can just press for instant results. And wow, that is a powerful, almost irresistible idea. And this whole idea of right now is totally backed up by the visuals. I mean, look at that upward trending graph. It's like a universal language for success, isn't it? It needs zero explanation. It just screams profit. And that directly supports this whole idea that you can get this result like now. Now, a really powerful promise like make money today, that's not for everyone. It's actually laser focused on a very specific type of person. So who is the perfect customer for this kind of message? Well, lucky for us, the cover tells us loud and clear. It's aimed squarely, and I mean squarely, at beginners. We're not talking about seasoned traders here. We're talking about people who are just standing at the edge of this massive crypto universe, probably feeling totally lost in a sea of jargon and confusing charts. And this book, it's basically presenting itself as the super easy way in. But why? Why is targeting beginners with a promise like this so effective? Well, think about it. For a total beginner, the learning curve in crypto can feel like a gigantic mountain. And this promise, it basically suggests you don't even have to climb it. It's offering a shortcut, a secret path, straight to the top, to the profits, letting you skip all the hard parts in between. Okay, so if this guide is supposed to be the magical shortcut, what's the secret map it's giving you? I mean, what tools does it actually claim to offer beginners to unlock all this immediate profit? Let's take a look. The guide makes a classic, and I mean classic, powerful claim. It contains everything you need to know. See, this isn't just a book. They're presenting it as a complete, all-in-one system. And for a beginner who's probably drowning in an ocean of online information, that single promise of everything,
Wow, that's a lifeline. Now, to make a huge promise like that feel even a little bit achievable, they break everything down into what looks like a simple curriculum. They say you're going to learn about Bitcoin trading, cryptocurrency trading, and of course, grow a deeper knowledge. It's a really clever way to make a pretty much impossible promise feel structured and, tangible. But okay, let's be realistic here for a second. Cryptocurrency is this huge, chaotic, and constantly changing world. So can a single book, especially one for beginners, truly contain everything? I mean, a skeptic might just laugh at that, right? But for the person this is aimed at, that bold claim isn't a red flag at all. It's more like a comfort blanket. And the visual design, it just makes this connection totally explicit. Look, on one side, you have the actual concrete things, the coins you've heard of. And on the other side, you have the abstract result you want, that rising profit graph. The unspoken message here is basically a simple equation. These coins equal this profit. It's that simple. Okay, look, a promise this big absolutely has to feel credible, right? Otherwise, nobody's going to buy it. So who is even making this promise? Let's take a look at how this guide tries to build a sense of authority to make you actually believe them. And notice this, it's not just a book by some random person, it's from an academy. That word choice is absolutely critical. It's specifically designed to make you think of things like structure, research, a real, legitimate educational system, not just, one person's opinion. Yeah, the name itself, Gorpale Trading Academy, is supposed to be a badge of authority. It's there to build trust and to provide some kind of solid foundation for what is, let's face it, a very shaky promise of making money today. So let's put all these pieces together, right? We've got the promise of immediate profit aimed at beginners. We've got the promise of everything you need to know. And it's all coming from a supposedly credible academy. But when you step back, you realize there's actually a huge conflict right at the heart of this whole message. See, the cover is essentially selling two completely different products at the exact same time. On one hand, it's selling you patient education, the idea of growing your knowledge. But on the other hand, it's selling you a lottery ticket, the dream of instant profit today. And, well, those two ideas are pretty much polar opposites. And this leaves us with a really critical question, doesn't it? This marketing is so expertly designed to appeal to both our thirst for knowledge and our hunger for profit. But which one is it really targeting? So you have to ask yourself, when you see a promise like this, what are you really buying into? Is it the knowledge or is it the dream of profit? Are they selling you an education or are they just selling a dream wrapped up nicely in the pages of a book? That's the question to ask the next time you see a promise that just feels a little too perfect. Bitcoin, crypto, trading, you've heard the words, right? It feels like this incredibly exciting new world. But let's be real, it can also be super overwhelming. It's sold as this new financial frontier, but for a lot of us, the map looks like it's written in another language. So how do guides for beginners try to fix that? Today, we're going to break down the promises of one of these guides to see what kind of path it's really offering. You see the buzz all over the internet, you see the headlines, but then you try to look a little closer and boom, it's a total whirlwind of jargon, complicated charts, and it feels like a private club you definitely didn't get an invite to. It is so easy to feel like you've already missed the boat or that it's just way too complex to even think about starting. But here's the thing. What if that exact feeling is what a guide like this is made for? This book is basically saying, hey, I'm not a stuffy, complicated textbook. It's presenting itself as your starting point, your map for exploring this brand new territory. So let's frame this the right way. We're not looking at some impossible wall to climb. We're looking at a frontier, a wide open landscape with new possibilities, new tech, and new assets that are completely shaking up how we think about money and finance. And right away, the cover introduces you to the big players you're going to meet out here on this frontier. You can see the icons right there. Bitcoin, the OG, the one that started it all, Ethereum, which is like a platform for a whole new digital world, and Ripple, which is all about changing how we send money around the globe. These aren't just lines of code, they're the landmarks of this new world. All right, so every great adventure needs a guide, right? So how does this book try to sell itself as the perfect sidekick for a newcomer just setting out on this journey? Well, the promise is made loud and clear right in the title, for beginners. That's not just a little detail, that's its entire identity. It's basically a declaration that, no, you do not need a PhD in economics to get started. It's signaling that the whole point here is to demystify all this stuff, not to make you feel intimidated. And this guidance, it comes from the Gorpale Trading Academy,
which is a name that's clearly meant to make this feel like part of a structured, kind of credible learning experience, not just some random book. Of course, let's be honest, for a lot of people, the reason they want to explore this frontier is pretty simple. It's about opportunity. And this guide just tackles that head-on, framing the whole thing as a potential path to profit. And it does not mess around. Just look at this statement. Everything you need to know, that suggests it's a complete package. To start making money online, that talks about a real, tangible result. And then that last word, today, creates this feeling of, I can do this right now. It's a really bold claim, and it taps right into that get-rich-quick vibe that's all over the crypto space.
So how are you supposed to get there? Well, the journey this guide lays out seems pretty logical. It's a clear path. First, you learn the fundamentals, build a solid foundation. Then you master the basics of the actual craft, the trading part. And only then do you really start on that journey towards the goal of profit. It's a process, not a lottery ticket.
But is making money the only goal? Is that where the adventure just ends? The source suggests there's actually something more, a deeper purpose that goes way beyond just your first successful trade. And there it is, the second half of the promise, and grow a deeper knowledge of crypto trading. This is so important. It's saying that the real prize isn't just making some money, it's gaining actual understanding, skill, and expertise.
So here's the main takeaway from all this. The guide presents two goals that are really part of the same path. Making money, that might be the starting line. It's the initial motivation that gets you into the race. But the real finish line, the thing that's going to give you lasting value, is gaining that deeper knowledge. One is an event, the other is a skill you have for life. So when you boil it all down, the message is pretty clear. Before you can trade, before you can profit, you have to understand. The real first step isn't buying some coin. It's deciding you want to learn. Knowledge is your ticket to get into this new frontier. So the adventure is out there, the bide is on the table, and the path is laid out. It's about moving from just wanting profit to building a foundation of real knowledge. The final question isn't just about trading, it's about learning. What's the real prize you're looking for on this new frontier?
All right, let's dive in. Sometimes the most powerful messages are hiding right in plain sight. Today, we're going to pull apart the promise baked into a single image, the cover of a book about cryptocurrency. We're going to see what it tells us about the world it's trying to sell. So this is it. This is our entire source material for today. A book cover is really a masterclass in communication. It's got to be a sales pitch, a promise, and a table of contents all wrapped into one. And it has to hit you in a single glance. Our job is to decode the really powerful message it's sending, especially to someone who's on the outside of the crypto world just looking in.
So before we break it all down, just take a second. Look at it. What's the immediate feeling you get from this? What does it promise you? Every single element here, every word, every image is designed to make you feel a certain way and believe a certain thing. Let's find out exactly how it works, piece by piece. Every effective message starts with a target, right? So first things first, who is this book for? The cover makes it absolutely crystal clear, and this one choice is the foundation for its entire pitch. Bam, right there, front and center, for beginners. Now, in a field that is famously complex, crypto is intimidating. Those two words are like a lighthouse in a storm. They are a promise of safety, of guidance, of simplicity. This isn't just a label, it's an invitation that immediately disarms anyone feeling overwhelmed and just pulls them right in. Okay, so once the beginner is hooked, what's the core sales pitch? It's brilliantly crafted, right there in the subtitle, and it's actually making two totally distinct promises at the very same time. The first promise is all about speed and results. Start making money online today. Just notice the urgency there. It's not in a few weeks or, once you master the concepts. It's today. This speaks directly to that desire for immediate financial gain, which is, let's be honest, a massive motivator in the crypto space. It's a powerful, action-oriented hook. But it doesn't stop there. The second half of the sentence adds a completely different layer, and grow a deeper knowledge of crypto trading. This is the other side of the promise. It appeals to a different, more aspirational desire, the desire to not just get lucky, but to actually become competent and knowledgeable. So you have this perfect dual strategy. It hooks you with the promise of instant gratification, get rich quick, but then it reassures you with the promise of long-term growth and genuine learning, get smart.
This combination is just incredibly effective because it targets both the impulsive and the aspirational parts of our brains at the same time. Now, this double promise is reinforced by the visuals. The choice of imagery is just as deliberate as the choice of words. Let's look at those 3 coins featured so prominently down at the bottom. We see Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Ripple. These are not random choices. I mean, out of thousands of cryptocurrencies, why were these 3 picked to represent the entire market for a beginner? It's because each one symbolizes a different pillar of the crypto world. This selection is a message in itself. Bitcoin is the original, the gold standard. Ethereum represents the whole world of smart contracts and applications. And Ripple, that represents the bridge to traditional finance. By showing these 3, the cover implies a comprehensive yet perfectly curated overview. It's a promise that you won't just learn about one coin, you'll understand the entire ecosystem. Finally, let's talk about trust. For a beginner navigating a new and risky field, finding a credible guide is everything, and the cover addresses this fundamental need through its branding. At the top and the bottom, we see the publisher Gorpal Trading Academy. The logo looks professional, and the name itself is carefully chosen. But one word in particular is doing most of the heavy lifting. Academy. This isn't the Gorpal Trading Group or Gorpal Trading Tips. It's an academy. That word just conjures up images of structure, formal education, legitimacy, expertise. It suggests that what you're buying isn't just a collection of secrets, but a real curriculum. It's a powerful way to build credibility and make a beginner feel like they're in safe, knowledgeable hands. So, we've broken down the target audience, the pitch, the symbols, and the branding. Now, let's put it all back together. After all this, what is this cover really selling? When you combine all of these elements, you get an incredibly compelling message. It's a promise of simplicity for beginners, a dual reward of fast money and deep knowledge, a sense of comprehensive coverage through its choice of symbols, and a stamp of authority from an academy. It's not just selling information, it's selling a dream. The dream of mastering a complex new world and profiting from it, starting today. This cover is an expert piece of marketing designed to appeal to hope and ambition. And in a world like crypto, full of both incredible opportunity and significant risk, the promises we're sold matter immensely. Which leaves us with a final and I think a really critical question to consider. When you're the one looking for a guide, how do you tell the difference between a teacher and a salesperson? Have you ever wondered how some really complex ideas like, say, cryptocurrency manage to spread so fast? Well, it's often not about the nitty-gritty of the tech itself. It's about how it's sold. So today, we're going to do something interesting. We're going to deconstruct a single really powerful piece of marketing, a promise made on a book cover, to understand the anatomy of persuasion. And that's the big question, right? When you've got a topic that is famously volatile, super technical, and, let's be honest, kinda intimidating, how do you get someone who knows absolutely nothing about it to not only learn, but to actually put their own time and money on the line? Well, the answer usually starts with a really powerful promise. And this right here is our source material for today, the cover of a popular crypto trading book. We're going to treat this thing like an archaeological dig, uncovering all the layers of persuasion that were built right into its design. And we're going to start with its most obvious tools, the words. All right, let's dive into Section 1, Words That Sell. We're going to get right into unpacking the language of persuasion here, zeroing in on the specific phrases on this cover and figuring out exactly what job each one is supposed to do. It starts with these 2 simple words for beginners. Now, this is such a powerful signal. It just immediately tears down the barrier to entry. It's basically saying, hey, don't be scared, you don't need to know anything, this is a safe space for you. It's an invitation that's designed to disarm our reader's biggest fear, which is the fear of not being smart enough to get it. Okay, next up, just look at the absolute confidence in this claim. Everything you need to know. This tackles another huge anxiety for any newcomer, that feeling of being totally overwhelmed. This phrase promises a complete all-in-one solution. It's telling you, you can stop all that frantic Googling because everything that matters is right here in this book. And here it is. This is the real emotional gut punch of the whole pitch. Notice the sequence of these power words. Start, making money, and the most important one, today. This isn't about some abstract, long-term learning journey anymore. Nope, this is about an immediate, tangible reward. It creates this incredible sense of urgency and basically transforms the book from just an educational thing into a tool for making money right now. So when you put that entire tagline together, you can really see the whole strategy in motion. It's this beautifully constructed sentence that delivers a perfect 1-2 punch of appeal.
So what's so clever about this? Well, it's catering to two totally different human desires at the exact same time. On one hand, you've got that promise of immediate gratification, quick cash. But on the other, you have the long-term aspiration to actually become knowledgeable, to achieve some kind of mastery. It hooks you with the desire for a quick win, but it makes you feel good about the purchase with the promise of actually getting smarter. It's brilliant.
Okay, so that's the text. But we all know that a picture is worth 1,000 words, and the images here might be even more persuasive. Let's switch gears and analyze the visual story this cover is telling us. Let's pull back and look at the whole cover again. The colors, those symbols, that graph. Believe me, none of this is an accident. Every single visual element has been picked to reinforce the promise that the words are making and to communicate ideas that words just can't get across on their own. So we can break this whole visual pitch down into 4 key components. You've got the specific coins they chose to show, that relentlessly positive graph, the color scheme, that sort of digital blue and gold, and finally, that Trading Academy logo. Let's start with the coins. I mean, out of the thousands of cryptocurrencies out there, why put these 3 right at the bottom, front and center? What are they supposed to mean to a total beginner? See, each coin is telling a different part of a bigger story. Bitcoin, that's the original, the one everybody's heard of. It represents stability, digital gold. Then there's Ethereum, which represents cutting-edge tech and innovation, the future of the internet. And Ripple, or XRP, that one's often tied to banks and big institutions, suggesting legitimacy and corporate buy-in. Together, they create this perfect symbolic portfolio. It's stable, it's innovative, and it's secure. Okay, now for what might be the single most persuasive element on this entire cover. This simple, clean, upward trending line. You'll notice there are no numbers, no dates, no context, just a single, optimistic arrow pointing to the sky. I mean, this line is a masterpiece of simplification. In a market that is famous for its wild, totally unpredictable swings, this graph shows one direction, and one direction only, up. It's such a simple visual, but it works so hard to just erase the entire concept of risk. It's selling a fantasy of effortless, inevitable growth, which is, of course, exactly what a nervous beginner is hoping for. So we've got the persuasive words and we have the reassuring images. Now for section 3, where we're going to put it all together and decode the complete message this package is delivering. What we're really deconstructing here has a name. It's called a marketing package. This isn't just a book cover. It's a carefully engineered system where every single part, the words, the images, the branding, all work together to build one compelling story, and more importantly, one compelling feeling. So here it is, the anatomy of the promise all laid out. The words tell you, this is easy, this is complete, and you'll get rich now, which creates a feeling of confidence and empowerment. The images tell you, crypto is stable, it's diverse, and it's always growing, creating a feeling of security and optimism. And finally, that little bit of branding, the Gorple Trading Academy logo. It frames the whole thing as professional and academic, which is designed to create trust and a sense of legitimacy. And this, right here, this is the heart of it. The actual product being sold isn't really a book full of trading tips. The product is the feeling of control. It's the promise that you, yes, you, can tame this wild, chaotic new world and make it work for you. And that is an incredibly powerful thing to sell. Okay, so let's zoom out for our final section. Why does spending all this time deconstructing one book cover actually matter? Because the techniques we've just uncovered are everywhere. You've probably already guessed it, this analysis isn't really about Bitcoin or trading at all. The principles of persuasion we've just walked through are absolutely universal. What this is really about is learning to recognize how complex ideas, whether it's a new diet, a political movement, a new gadget, are constantly being simplified and packaged for us to consume. And understanding how that package is built is honestly a critical skill for just navigating the world today. And that, right there, is the ultimate takeaway. Look, the information inside this book might be fantastic, it might be terrible, that's a whole other question. The real skill is learning to see and analyze the persuasive frame, the story that's built around the facts. So I'll leave you with this to think about. The next time you see a really complex topic presented as a simple, easy, risk-free solution, just ask yourself, what, or maybe who, does that simplicity serve? And maybe even more importantly, what's being left out of the frame?
If you've ever gotten curious about crypto, I bet you've seen a beginner's guide that looks a lot like this one. Today, we're not actually going to teach you how to trade. Instead, we're going to peel back the layers on the powerful promise these guides make and figure out how they convince people to take that very first step.
And it all kicks off with a question just like this, doesn't it? It's so direct, so compelling. It taps right into this huge dream that millions of people have. It's the hook. And for the last few years, one of the biggest, loudest answers to that question has been cryptocurrency. Which brings us to what really feels like a modern-day gold rush. You hear these wild stories about people making incredible fortunes, like overnight. A whole new financial system being built from the ground up. It's exciting, but, just like any gold rush, it's also pretty chaotic and super confusing. Most people have no clue where to even start digging. And that's really the core problem for anyone who's curious about crypto. On one hand, you've got this thrilling new frontier of innovation and, potential profit. But on the other hand, you've got all the jargon, blockchain, wallets, NFTs, and this very real fear of making a huge, costly mistake. It's that classic battle, the fear of missing out versus the fear of totally messing up. And that tension, that's what keeps most people on the sidelines. So when you're standing at the edge of this really intimidating frontier, what do you start looking for? A map, right? Or a guide. You're just hoping for something, or someone, to show up and say, hey, don't worry, it's not that complicated. Just start right here. And what do you know? Right on cue, a guide like this appears. For tons and tons of beginners, this is the very first point of contact. It's a book cover that seems to offer that perfect, easy entry point. It looks clean, professional, and most importantly, it speaks directly to all those hopes and fears we were just talking about. Okay, so let's be really clear here. We're not reviewing this book. We have no idea what's inside. Instead, for our explainer, we're treating the cover as our source material. We're breaking down the promise itself, that carefully crafted message that's designed to turn a curious beginner into a confident buyer. So let's break that message down. The marketing here is actually kind of brilliant in how simple it is. It's really built around two key phrases that make an almost irresistible promise. The first part of that promise goes right for the biggest fear that beginners have, the fear of the unknown. The word everything is just so powerful. It suggests that this one book can save you from spending endless hours getting lost in confusing online articles. It promises a complete, all-in-one solution. And then, bam, here comes the payoff. It's not just about learning stuff, it's about getting results and getting them immediately. That word today is absolutely critical. It turns what could be a long-term learning project into an instant opportunity. It's saying you don't need to wait, you don't need years of experience, you can start now. So when you put those two phrases together, what do you get? Well, you get the perfect cure for that feeling of intimidation we were talking about. It takes this incredibly complex, volatile, and super technical subject and just reframes it as something that's manageable, accessible, and hey, immediately profitable. But the words are only half the story. Let's dig into the visuals on the cover, because the imagery here is doing just as much heavy lifting to sell the dream. This cover tells a whole story without using a single word. Look at the pieces. You've got the sleek, professional background. You've got a graph line that, funny enough, only goes up. And then right in the center, these heavy, shiny coins. It's a brilliant trick, really, making something that's totally digital and abstract feel tangible, feel valuable, like you could hold it in your hand. The choice of coins here is also really deliberate. They didn't pick some obscure tokens nobody's ever heard of. Nope. They picked 3 of the biggest names out there. You have Bitcoin, the original, the one everyone knows. Then you have Ethereum, the platform that so much of the crypto world is built on, and Ripple, known for being all about payments. This choice adds a layer of credibility and makes it all feel a little more familiar, even for a total newbie. So if you put all these pieces together, the text, the visuals, the choice of coins, the cover is basically laying out a very clear, implied path. It's a simple 4-step journey. Step 1, you get the knowledge from this book. Step 2, you start trading. Step 3, you make money. And step 4, you just keep building on that success.
It's all presented as this simple, straight line from A to B. So after we've decoded the cover, we've analyzed the promise, we've laid out the path it offers, what's the big takeaway from all this?
The key takeaway is just how effective this kind of marketing is at cutting through complexity. It takes a world of risk, volatility, and deep technical knowledge and presents it as a simple, accessible opportunity for anyone who wants to make money online. It's a really powerful and super common way people get pulled into the crypto world. And that leaves us with one final question. The cover makes a pretty bold claim, but in a space that changes by the hour, that is famously unpredictable and incredibly deep, can any single guide truly be everything you need to know? That's something for every beginner to really think about.
All right, today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to deconstruct the promise made on a single book cover. I mean, this thing is just meticulously designed to pull in new crypto traders. We're going to break down how every single word, every visual, works together to sell a very, very specific dream.
Okay, so here it is. This is the book cover we're digging into. Bitcoin and cryptocurrency trading for beginners. But the real magic, it's right there in that subtitle. Everything you need to know to start making money online today. Wow, that's not just a suggestion, right? That is a hook. It's promising this complete, immediate path to profit. So let's really get into what makes that promise so appealing. First up, let's talk about the language. I mean, we've got to decode the specific words they chose here to grab the attention of someone who's totally new to the whole crypto scene.
It all starts with just 2 words, but man, are they powerful for beginners. Think about what that does. It just completely removes any intimidation. It's like a giant welcome mat that says, hey, you, no prior knowledge needed. Come on in, you belong here. And just like that, the barrier to entry is practically gone.
And then you get this gem. Everything you need to know. I mean, come on, that is the ultimate all-in-one solution, isn't it? If you've ever felt totally overwhelmed by a million YouTube videos and all this conflicting advice online, a phrase like that is just such a relief. It's basically saying, hey, forget all that noise. Here's the single, clear path. And that really taps into that deep-down need we all have for a little certainty. Okay, but here's the real kicker, the grand finale, to start making money online today. The 2 most important words there, start and today. See, this isn't about some long-term study plan. Nope, this is about immediate results. And what that does is it completely reframes crypto trading. It's not a skill you have to slowly learn anymore. It's an opportunity you can jump on right now.
So this all leads to a really crucial question, doesn't it? The cover promises everything. But what does a beginner truly need, especially to navigate a market as wild and volatile as crypto? It really makes you think about that gap, you know, the one between a slick marketing promise and the actual reality of what it takes to learn this stuff.
Okay, let's switch gears for a second. We've talked about the words, now let's look at the visuals. Because the design here is working on a totally subconscious level. It's building trust and communicating this idea of wealth before you've even had a chance to read a single word on the page.
First off, just look at the overall vibe. You've got this dark blue background, this subtle grid pattern. It almost feels like you're looking at a data visualization, right? And that creates this very professional, very serious tone. The whole point is to make it look less like some get-rich-quick scheme and more like a sophisticated academic field of study. It just gives it this immediate air of legitimacy. And hey, check out the coins they chose to feature. These aren't some random, obscure altcoins nobody's ever heard of. No way. They went for the heavyweights. You got Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Ripple, right there front and center. By showing these huge, well-known assets, the book just instantly aligns itself with the biggest, most recognized names in the game. It's a classic move, credibility by association.
And finally, let's look at the branding itself. See, this isn't just a book. Oh no, it's from the Gorpel Trading Academy. Think about that one word, academy. It completely transforms a simple guide into what sounds like an official curriculum from a real institution. This is so smart because it leverages our natural authority bias. It makes the source feel established, trustworthy, authoritative.
So, let's put it all together. You take that professional design, you add in the major crypto coins, and you top it off with the Academy branding. What's the visual message? Well, it's crystal clear. This is a credible, modern guide to a tangible form of wealth. I mean, look at those shiny physical coins. They make a totally abstract digital asset feel like a piece of gold you can actually hold in your hand. All right, so we've pulled apart the words,
We've dissected the visuals. So what's the complete takeaway message that a beginner gets when they see this cover for the first time?
Well, the core promise is really this. You've got the for beginners language making crypto feel super simple and approachable, and at the same time, you have these academic-style visuals making it feel serious and sophisticated. It creates this incredibly powerful narrative, right? That this complex, professional world isn't just accessible to you, it's a path to profit that you can literally start on today.
And that really leaves us with one final thought. Look, this analysis isn't just about this one specific book. It's about developing a critical eye for all this stuff. So the next time you see a guide or a course or anything that promises a simple solution to a really complex topic, maybe ask yourself a few questions. What is actually being promised here? What's being implied between the lines? And most importantly, what might they be leaving out?
So have you ever heard words like Bitcoin or cryptocurrency and felt, a mix of curiosity and maybe a little confusion? Yeah, you're not alone. We're about to unpack a pretty bold promise made to beginners in this whole space. And believe it or not, it all starts with this one single image. We're going to break down this book cover. And just look at that headline for a second. Everything you need to know to start making money online today. Whoa! That is a massive promise, and it's aimed squarely at people who are just starting out.
I mean, that's a really bold claim, isn't it? For someone who's brand new to this, the crypto world can feel like you're trying to learn a whole new language. It just brings up this huge question. With a promise that big, where do you even begin?
Well, that's exactly what we're going to do right now. We're going to deconstruct this cover, piece by piece, just to understand the core ideas it's trying to sell to a newcomer.
You see, the promise here is actually two things at once. It's not just about that instant thrill, the making money online today part. It's also about building a real foundation to grow a deeper knowledge of crypto trading. So it's selling you both the destination and the map to get there.
All right, let's start with the biggest, most important word on the cover. To really get what this promise is all about, we have to decode the language. So let's ask the basic question. What is a cryptocurrency?
The title says cryptocurrency trading, but before we can even get to the trading part, we've got to nail down the basics. We need to answer that fundamental question. What are we actually talking about here?
Okay, so at its core, a cryptocurrency is basically digital money. The crypto part, that comes from cryptography, which is like this super complex, almost unbreakable code that keeps every transaction secure. That security is what makes it so unique and incredibly hard to fake.
And the most famous one, the one everyone's heard of, is of course Bitcoin. It's the original, the one that kicked this whole thing off way back in 2009. You can think of it as the blueprint for every other crypto that came after it. It's so important that it gets its own name in the title, and people often call it digital gold, because just like real gold, there's a limited supply of it. Now, let's shift our eyes from the words on the cover down to the images, because the cover doesn't just talk about crypto as some abstract idea, it actually shows us three very different-looking coins. Let's see what they can teach us.
See those three coins down at the bottom? They're not just random decorations. Each one represents a major player in the crypto world, and they were probably chosen to stand for three totally different ideas about what crypto can be.
So first up, right there in the center, we've got the gold coin, Bitcoin. Like we said, it's the original. Its main job in the crypto world is often seen as being a store of value, a place to keep wealth, kind of like digital gold. It is for sure the main character in this story.
Okay, now look to the left. That silver coin with the diamond shape, that's Ethereum. And this is where things get really, really interesting, because Ethereum isn't just trying to be digital money. It's more like a platform. Think of it like a giant global computer, or even better, an app store for the crypto world. People can build apps on it using what are called smart contracts. All that means is it's code that runs automatically when certain things happen, kind of like a digital vending machine. This is a huge idea, because it means Ethereum's value isn't just its price, but the thousands of projects built on top of it.
And finally, on the right, that silver coin with the globe on it, that's Ripple, or more specifically, the coin is called XRP. And its purpose is super clear: payments. It was built from the ground up to help banks and big financial companies send money across the world really fast and really cheap. So while Bitcoin is like digital gold and Ethereum is like an app store, XRP is trying to be a bridge for the money system we already have.
So we've defined cryptocurrency, and we've looked at three really important examples. But the book's title has that crucial action word in it, trading. What does that actually mean? What are you doing? This brings us right to the heart of the promise. Trading. What does that really look like? Well, at its core, it kind of breaks down into 3 simple ideas. First, you have to study the asset. That means you really need to understand what makes Bitcoin different from Ethereum, and why each one has value. Then, you analyze the market. This is where people look at charts and news, trying to guess which way the price might go. It's part research and part, well, an educated guess. And all of that leads to the final, fundamental goal: buy low and sell high. Sounds simple, right? But that little loop, that's the whole game.
So let's bring all these different pieces back together. The book says it's for beginners. And you know what? By just breaking down its cover, we've actually taken the very first step on that journey.
Let's look at that full title one more time. Seeing it now, words like Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, and trading should feel a lot more real, a lot more concrete. We've given them actual meaning just by looking closely at this one image.
I mean, think about it. In just a few minutes, we went from a cover that might have seemed confusing to understanding what cryptocurrency even is, the different jobs of 3 major coins, and the basic idea of trading. It just goes to show you how much information can be packed into a single picture.
And that's where we'll end it. The cover gives you this clear promise of knowledge, and maybe even profit. But any kind of trading, especially in a wild market like crypto, comes with a lot of risk. So with that in mind, maybe the most important question a beginner can ask isn't how do I start, but something else, something deeper. What do you think that next question should be? Thanks for tuning in.
So, let's talk about cryptocurrency trading. It's this world that's just buzzing with potential, but man, is it also thick with confusion. For every big success story you hear, there are probably 100 other people just wondering, okay, but where do I even start? Well, today, we're going to deconstruct one of the most common answers you'll find out there, the promise of a simple, all-in-one guide.
So here it is. This is the cover of a popular for beginners guide. But you know, it's so much more than just a book. It's a carefully crafted piece of marketing designed to sell a very specific dream. In this explainer, we're going to break down every single element, from the words to the images, to really understand the powerful promise it's actually making.
All right, first up, let's decode the title. Now, this isn't just a random collection of words. No way. It's a carefully engineered 3-part hook designed to pull in someone who is hopeful, maybe a little bit anxious, and definitely looking for an easy way into a pretty complex world.
This title is built to work on a few different levels. It's not just describing what's inside the book, it's strategically targeting your hopes for financial gain, your interest in a hot trend, and maybe most importantly, your insecurities about being left behind in this whole crypto thing.
So let's break down how it works. First, you've got Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. That immediately signals that this is current, it's relevant, it uses the king of crypto to show it knows what it's talking about. Second, that word trading is so crucial. It promises you're going to do something, that you can get in on the action and maybe make a profit, not just sit back and learn theory. And finally, for beginners. This is the magic phrase. It removes the biggest hurdle, fear. It's basically a key that says, hey, don't worry, this is for you, you can do this.
Okay, so if the title got you interested, the subtitle is where this cover goes for the knockout punch. This is where the pitch shifts from being accessible to making an almost unbelievable promise of instant results.
Get this. Everything you need to know to start making money online today. I mean, wow. That's not just a subtitle, is it? It's an entire fantasy, all wrapped up in a single sentence. Let's dig into why this is so incredibly effective.
The promise starts with one super powerful word: everything. This word is designed to just eliminate any feeling of being overwhelmed. It implies you won't need to read other books, you won't need to watch other videos, or do any more research. This book, right here, is your complete, all-in-one solution. Problem solved.
Next, it hits you with the core desire, making money online. This taps directly into that dream of financial freedom, of earning passive income, of maybe breaking free from the 9-to-5. See, it's not just about crypto anymore. It's about a whole lifestyle change.
And then you get the final word, the haymaker, today. This is the secret sauce. It injects this intense sense of urgency and promises you immediate gratification. We're not talking about next week or next month. We're talking about today. It turns this vague wannabe dream into something that feels like you can grab it right now.
Okay, so the text on the cover has made some pretty extraordinary claims, but great marketing doesn't just rely on words, it reinforces its message visually. The images on this cover are absolutely not just decoration, they are a huge part of the sales pitch.
Looking at the full cover again,
you can really see how all the visual elements are working together. You've got that dark, sort of techie background, the glowing logo, the physical coins. It's all designed to feel professional, valuable, and even a little bit futuristic.
And the choice of coins here is totally deliberate. You have Bitcoin, the undisputed original, the OG. You've got Ethereum, the king of smart contracts and dApps, and then Ripple, which kind of represents that bridge to traditional finance. This selection isn't random. It creates a sense of a comprehensive, diversified portfolio. It signals legitimacy and breadth.
But honestly, the most telling visual of all is that graph line. It perfectly illustrates the core fantasy that's being sold. Just notice how it only goes up. There are no dips, no crashes, no volatility, just a smooth, effortless climb. This one single image visually promises you profit without the pain, growth without the risk. It's the visual equivalent of that word today.
So, we've broken down what the cover is explicitly promising you through its text and its visuals. But to truly understand the full message, we have to look at what's conspicuously, well, absent.
So if you put it all together, the cover is selling this complete package, a super simple entry point, an all-in-one guide, and the promise of immediate, effortless success. It's a really powerful combination for anyone feeling like they're being left out of the crypto boom. But look closely at what's being promised. What's the one word you would absolutely expect to see in any legitimate financial guide that is just nowhere to be found here?
That missing word is risk. The entire concept of loss, of volatility, of things being difficult is completely absent from the pitch. The cover sells the dream of the destination, making money, without ever mentioning the often treacherous journey it takes to get there. And that really leaves us with one final critical question we should always ask ourselves. When a guide promises profit, without any of the pain, what is it that they're choosing not to tell you?
Have you ever heard the story of Bitcoin? I mean, really heard it? It's this wild tale about a technology that basically came from a single paper, released by a ghost, that went on to spark a global financial revolution. It's all about a new way of thinking about money, control, and what has value. So what is this mysterious tech, and why is everyone so obsessed with it? Let's dive in. So the whole thing kicks off back in 2009 with a name, Satoshi Nakamoto. But here's the crazy part. Nobody has a clue who that is. Seriously, it could be one person, a whole team of coders. We just don't know. The creator of the world's first cryptocurrency is still a complete mystery. They dropped the code, explained how it all worked, and then just, poof, vanished. But they left behind something that would totally change the game. And what followed was just this massive explosion. To give you some perspective on this, imagine if you had put just $10,000 into Bitcoin back in January of 2015. Well, by the time it peaked in December 2017, you would have been sitting on a profit of nearly $1 million. That is a life-changing amount of money, and it's exactly why the world suddenly snapped to attention. Yeah, that kind of growth is pretty hard to ignore, but it brings up a really basic question. What is this stuff, anyway? Because it's not just digital cash. It's a totally different kind of financial system. So let's peel back the layers and see what makes cryptocurrencies so revolutionary. The easiest way to get your head around Bitcoin is to put it side by side with the money we use every day, what's called fiat currency. So on one side, you've got dollars, euros. They're issued by governments, controlled by banks. But on the other side, you have Bitcoin, no central boss, and a supply that's capped forever at 21 million. It's kind of like comparing a garden hose that someone can turn on and off to a giant, powerful river that just flows on its own. And that right there, that gets to the absolute core of all this. Decentralization. It's this powerful idea that a network can be run and secured by its users, all of them, together, instead of one single company or bank in the middle. I mean, there's no CEO of Bitcoin, right? No central server you can just shut down. And that one shift in power is what makes this whole thing so incredibly disruptive. Okay, so we've got it. Bitcoin is a decentralized digital currency. Cool. But what does that actually mean for you or for me? Why should we even care about this new tech? Let's get into the real-world benefits that make crypto so compelling. The benefits are actually pretty awesome when you break them down. Because you're cutting out the middlemen, like banks, transactions can be way faster and cheaper. We're talking minutes, not days. You have total control of your money. Nobody can freeze your account or tell you how much you can take out. That limited supply means a government can't just print more and devalue it. And maybe the most surprising part, it's incredibly transparent because every single transaction is public. It's a financial system that's truly open to everyone. For a lot of people, this is the light bulb moment. This quote from our source material just nails it. When you hold cryptocurrency, you are in charge. You don't need to ask for permission to use your own money. You essentially become your own bank. And that comes with a ton of freedom. And, of course, responsibility. The whole idea of being your own bank is, well, it's incredibly powerful. But it also raises a huge question. I mean, if there's no bank to check the transactions, to stop fraud, or to keep all the records straight, how does any of this actually work? How can you possibly trust a system where no one's in charge? Well, the answer is the incredible technology humming away in the background, the blockchain. Just think of it like a global public receipt book, but instead of being on paper, it's made of digital blocks. Every single transaction gets recorded in a block, and then it's added to this long, unbreakable chain. And once a transaction is on there, it's permanent. It's public. It's like a digital tattoo that can never be erased. And that's what creates all the trust and security without needing a bank. So how does something get written into that digital book? Well, say you want to send some Bitcoin. That request gets broadcast to the whole network. Then people called miners, using these super powerful computers, grab a bunch of recent transactions and bundle them into a block. They all compete to solve this really complex math puzzle, and whoever solves it first gets to add their block to the chain. After that, the rest of the network checks their work, gives it a thumbs up, and boom, the transaction is confirmed. It's this brilliant system of checks and balances, all powered by the community itself. All right, so we've covered the what and the why of Bitcoin. We've seen how it works, why it's such a big deal. So now, let's get to the question everybody asks. How does a total beginner actually get started? It might sound intimidating, but the process has actually gotten surprisingly easy. Getting started really just comes down to these 4 steps. First up, you need a digital wallet. Think of it as your bank account for crypto. Second, you sign up for an exchange, which is just like a currency exchange shop where you trade your dollars for Bitcoin. Third, you'll have to verify your identity. That's standard for any financial service. And finally, you just connect your bank account or debit card and make your first purchase. That's it. It's that simple to step into this whole new world. And hey, here's a little pro tip to make things even easier. A lot of the big, popular platforms out there, like Coinbase, for example, are designed to be a one-stop shop. They act as both the exchange where you buy the crypto and the wallet where you store it. It just streamlines the entire process, especially for beginners, so you don't get overwhelmed. Okay, so you know how to get started, but there is one last, and I mean absolutely critical piece of the puzzle we have to talk about. We said you get to be your own bank, right? Well, with that great power comes great responsibility. You also have to be your own head of security. So how do you keep your assets safe in this new world? Look, when it comes to keeping your crypto safe, there are a few golden rules you just have to follow. No exceptions. Always, always use two-factor authentication for that extra security layer. Use a different, super strong password for every single crypto site you use. And most importantly, and I can't stress this enough, you have to understand your private key or recovery phrase. This is the master key to all your funds. You have to back it up somewhere safe, offline, and never, ever, for any reason, share it with anyone. It is the key to your digital vault, and if you lose it, it's all gone. So if there's only one thing you remember from all of this, let it be this. In the world of crypto, there's no password reset button. There's no customer service you can call if you mess up. Whoever has your private keys has total control of your crypto. Protecting them is your single most important job. It's the key to everything, to unlocking all the power of this technology while making sure your assets stay safe and sound.